Live from the Big G's Pizza Studio on Clark Street, this is 5 Songs with Friends, Chicago's music discovery podcast. Sonorama is a DJ collective comprised of 3 members going 9 years strong, promoting 50s through 80s Latin music of all genres and rhythms through DJ residencies, events, radio, and other mediums. In recent years, they have extended their collective with their own record label called Sonorama Discos that also has featured contemporary artists whom also have an ear to the past, but with a contemporary, modern approach to those influences. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got Edgar of Sonorama here. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, man?
Not much, dude. I'm stoked to have you guys on. So this interview is kind of a little bit of a plug for your show that's coming up on May 9th at Sleeping Village with Ife. And we'll talk a little bit more about that down the road. But before we do, let's talk a little bit about Sonorama. You guys have been playing for 9 years. How did you get started making this music together?
So the project pretty much started off as pretty much just me and myself and another friend, Charlie, who's originally from Mexico City and the surrounding areas. We were just both music lovers, had a deep love for Latin music, both diggers, collectors, and we just wanted to really do something more than just kind of just play out and DJ out. So we ended up starting up a podcast initially online. We hosted it ourselves, and we kept just going with it. We got a couple residencies around town, and more than anything, we were just pushing Latin music and alternative sounds that we weren't hearing in the city. A lot of sounds from like the 60s, 70s, 80s, all genres. I mean, soul, funk, disco, tropical, cumbia. And 9 years later, we're still doing that. And we also added on to that another member, my brother Marlo, who brought his kind of influences and sounds to it too. We've done some screenings of like movies and gallery shows and collaborations. And along the way, we also kind of kicked off and made a little record label called Sonorama Discos that has pretty much kind of tried to encapsulate some of our love for primarily a lot of contemporary artists and musicians out there who are pretty much like connecting to those sounds of the past and kind of giving a little modern twist or a little modern sensibility to the future, you know?
Yeah. So, absolutely, man. Well, so I'm kind of curious, what did this, because you said the podcast kind of used as a tool to get some residencies and get your name out there. Like, what was the format of that like? Like, what were you trying to accomplish with that back in, because I mean, 10 years ago, that would have been still like a very, very early to the podcast game. So can you kind of just walk me through that thought process?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, I mean, back in those days, like, it was kind of a bigger blogging kind of atmosphere or environment for music lovers. So every week we would just pretty much every week or other week we would come together, me and Charlie. We would pick a theme, whether it be norteño music, cumbia, Brazilian funk, and we would pretty much just join. I would make some selections, he would make some. We would put a little context, a little history behind the artist and music, and just pretty much put an hour's worth of music out there on that, based on that theme. And that's kind of just, how that kicked off. Now, pretty much, we also do the same thing of sharing music to the worldwide through the radio, through Lumpin' Radio. We got a weekly show there, and then every quarterly we have a show that we contribute to Gomena Radio, which is like a kind of like internet-based radio where a lot of contributors collaborate and contribute a show every now and then. So yeah, man, just always just kind of sharing this love for this music, and yeah, that's the bottom line. Always just teaching ourselves and learning new artists, music, and influences, and then just turning around and putting it out there for the world to share too.
I love it, man. Well, so like, what does like the songwriting process look like for you, or as you're making mixes? Like, how do you find, these different types of tracks, and like, how do you know, like when one grabs you? Like, can you give an example maybe of, I don't know, just like that process in general?
To me, I think there's just like a little emotional just grab that just kind of, you hear something and you just know it's whoa, what is that? and you just need it. I mean, it just clicks all, fires on all the right cylinders that you're looking for. Sometimes it's a dance floor, sometimes it's just catchy and something that just got something that, you know, is really unique and that really just strikes your interest. So, yeah, I mean, I'm always digging myself. As I travel, I'm digging, you know, in Mexico and different cities around the U.S.
Yeah, so what does that look like? You're going into like record stores or like old CD shops? Like, is that kind of like how you source some of this music, or what does that even look like?
Definitely record stores, but definitely hitting up some of the heads that are some of the DJs or some of the record collectors themselves directly. Some of them are, I mean, we're already friends with, you know, on top of that. So we usually kind of, let's say, give them a little heads up, a little message out there. Hey, I'm going to be in town, and then they'll pretty much put us in touch. So right now, like I'm going to, this week, I'll be in DC at the end of the week. And that's pretty much like an internet, Instagram, social media connection that just kind of happened. You know, people who follow each other, you kind of get an idea of what you're into. So before long, you know, if you're in the area, they'll kind of, you know, be interested in having you, you know?
Wow, that's cool, man. I like that there's like this cool community, it seems like, around this type of music.
Definitely. And I mean, it's pretty much blooming right now. Definitely like in Mexico City, there's a big boom right now for this kind of the type of sounds that we're definitely into. And I think definitely across the states, there's little pockets of it in LA and New York City, San Francisco, the Bay Area has some. And, you know, down in San Antonio, I was there recently too. They got their own little scene as well. So
awesome.
It's kind of, you know, something coming up on the horizon. It's kind of been there for the past couple of years, but I think it's starting to surface up more and more, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love it. Well, so tell me a little bit about the song you've got today called El Lobo.
So this is a 45 we put out a few years back. This is a band, contemporary band out of San Bernardino Valley, California. Young group of musicians that is pretty much inspired by the Afro-Colombian sounds of Colombia. A lot of the sounds of cumbia, but even on top, besides cumbia, there's a lot of just little sub-genres, some rhythms and different sub-genres below cumbia. So these guys are definitely tapping into that, inspired by that. And this song is an original composition by them called El Lobo. We put that on a 45 with a Chico Man remix on the flip side. It just kind of puts a little punch, a little electronic punch into it for the, you know, modern dance floor. Chico Man, of course, is an amazing producer himself. He's with Antibalas out of New York. Got a couple solo projects, but this group, this Yanga-El Lobo, you know, is just one of many artists who are kind of just inspired by hearing that older music, the older sound. Just like, you know, Ife, who we will be opening for, is also another generation of, you know, artists out of Puerto Rico who are, maybe they're coming up like from a background of like hip hop or electronica, but they're also very conscientious of like the older sounds of the past, like those Afro Puerto Rican rhythms. And they're pretty much trying to make a bridge between those two worlds, you know. So
awesome.
I kind of pick this song so just to give you a little taste of like what you know what our label is a little bit on. Primarily so far we've had a lot of contemporary artists who are definitely sometimes, whether it be tropical cumbia or it could be funk sounds or soul. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, let's jump into it. This is a song called El Lobo by Yanga.
Mira, ahí viene el lobo, vestido en piel de oveja. lobo. Ten cuidado, que pide y desea. Ten cuidado, ten cuidado. Es el lobo pidiendo oveja, que te muerde si lo escucha. Es el lobo pidiendo oveja, que te muerde si lo escucha. Es el lobo pidiendo oveja, que te muerde si lo escucha. Es el lobo pidiendo oveja, que te muerde si lo escucha. ¿Qué quiere? ¿Qué quiere? El lobo, el lobo. ¿Qué muere? ¿Qué muere? El lobo, el lobo. Mira, ahí viene el lobo. Ten cuidado, ten cuidado. Vestido en piel de oveja. Ten cuidado, ten cuidado. Mira, ahí viene el lobo. Ten cuidado, ten cuidado. Vestido en piel de oveja. Ten cuidado, ten cuidado. El lobo que tiene que viene por mí. Ten cuidado, ten cuidado. Encuentra y muerde un chiperín. Que no llega al lobo no puede resistir. Lobito que quiere de mí.
All right, so that was El Lobo by Yanga. So yeah, tell me a little bit more about this show you got coming up at Sleeping Village, May 9th. It's a Thursday. You guys are opening for Ife. Can you guys just tell us a little bit about what we can expect from that gig?
So yeah, Ife is a Puerto Rican project of Otura Moon. He's a priest of the Yoruba religion. So throughout Latin America, of course, you know, because of the influence of the slave trade, there's definitely a big Afrocentric, you know, heritage and behind the music, and both in Puerto Rico and Cuba. And so Ife will be doing their thing. And as an opening act, we're going to try to just not so much. I think we can definitely bring beyond Puerto Rico. There's definitely a lot of other areas throughout Latin America and the Caribbean that have also had that kind of legacy of African descent or African sounds that have been kind of left for time. You know, so I think as a DJ collective, we're going to try to just maybe gather up some of those sounds, some of those rhythms, and try to see if we can just kind of warm up the stage for these guys and go from there, you know.
Perfect, man. Have you guys played at Sleeping Village before? Because I know it's only been really around for like a year or so in terms of a music venue. Have you had a chance to check it out ever?
Yeah, definitely. I got to catch actually one of Chico Man's acts. I think it's called oh man, I forget the name. It's one of his metal acts, Man World, or man, it's slipping my mind. But we also caught Dos Santos for their record release party. But Dos Santos kind of has a little bit of ties to Sonorama Discos because we essentially put their first 45 out on Sonorama Discos, and they've gone on to make, you know, do really a lot of amazing things here locally in the city. Still rocking it out, you know, weekly and traveling abroad, you know. But it's a great space. Sleeping Village. I know Alejandro, who's kind of connected with some of the booking there. I don't know, King Hippo, if that name rings a bell to you.
No, unfortunately not. But I've just I've always, my sister, I guess, lives like right around that area, so I've been going to Sleeping Village since they opened, and it's just a cool space. I love it. I think they have a really cool setup for with like the you know, like the bar in the front, and then like the whole like sick hidden kind of tucked away venue in the back and stuff. It just seems like a really cool place to see live music at.
Definitely.
Awesome, man. Well, so you've kind of given a few shout outs here, but are there any maybe other, under the radar artists in this community or just in general in Chicago that you think people should hear about?
I think probably just maybe a little shout out to Mr. Boomback Joe, who his name is Leopoldo. He's a local producer here in Chicago, who just recently actually under a project he has with a buddy Tim. He's got a project called Parlant, and they got a little 45 that just dropped like a week ago, and just really quality sound, locally produced and made, and really fresh stuff that I think really isn't getting played out as much as it should be, but probably all in due time.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome, man. Well, so how can people stay in touch with Sonorama and your record label and all that stuff going forward?
If people want to look us up, we are on the web at www.sonoramachicago.com. We're also on Facebook at Sonorama Chicago, and our handle on Instagram is the same, Sonorama Chicago. So pretty much any of those three methods, you can follow us, see what we're up to, in the city or outside of it too. So.
Awesome. Yeah. And if you want to stop in, see this stuff live, say what's up to Edgar, stop by Sleeping Village. May 9th is a Thursday to check out their gig with Ife. Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope you have a great day.